Hey folks, this is Colin Richards, president and founder of Lord and Richards, and I'm thrilled to be with you today on another episode of Lord and Richards Radio. This segment, we're going to be delving into a principle found in the book of Proverbs in the Bible, and it is found in chapter 27, verse 23 and 24. It says, "Know well the condition of your flocks and give attention to your herds, for riches do not last forever. And does a crown endure to all generations?" Really interesting Proverbs. First of all, it comes from the agricultural standpoint. It comes from tending livestock, right? The Bible was written during a time when it was more of an agrarian culture. But what we're going to do is we're going to pull that out of centuries ago, millennia ago, into today. And we're going to say, what does this mean for us here in this day, in this age? Well, I think it has a lot to say about being a good steward of what God has entrusted to you, right? One of the foundational principles at Lord and Richards is to manage risk as a steward, not an owner, recognizing that God has placed into our hands some wonderful tools that we can use for His glory and His kingdom. And as part of that stewardship, naturally, it means tending to those investments that each of us has, those places where we set aside the money, the places where we invest our 401k, our IRA, or whatever funds you have available. And so when you place money in investments, you are knowing the condition of your flocks. They're not lambs or goats. They are literal investment flocks. So how do you do that? How do you apply this principle of stewardship that we're discussing today and know the state of your investments? Well, first of all, you could do this yourself, right? Here's what you got to do. Okay, if you're going to do this yourself, you are a true investor. You're somebody who has bought into the ownership of one or more companies, and you're letting your wealth track the rise and the fall of these companies, right? So just like Warren Buffett, he researches companies, he studies them, and he determines which companies he wants to own. Now, when he owns, he generally owns a big part of a company, whereas you and I may own a much smaller share. But some of you may actually be invested in business. That's the same principle. Know the state of your business. Know your affairs. Know your accounts. Know how your market is doing. Know how your financials are coming along. So it's buying into ownership of one or more businesses. That's what it means to be a do-it-yourselfer. And it might be a dozen. It might be 24. But whatever it is, we want to know the state of our investments. So you got to research the companies. Be sure they're solid and profitable enterprises. Some of you say, Colin, I'm not into research. Well, then you might want to reconsider the do-it-yourself option, right? You may want to use one of the other options I'm going to discuss, but you need to understand the companies you're invested in. What do they do? What is their product? Do they own subsidiary companies? Are they part of a larger corporation? So you have a grasp of what that company is bringing to the marketplace. What are they selling? Is it goods? Is it services? Who are their competitors? As a matter of fact, should you be invested in their competitors instead? Are they a better business? Is there greater opportunity? Who's the best in that field? Does their product align with your values? You know, as believers, we want to invest in things which reinforce and support what we believe in, particularly from a biblical standpoint. So does this company not only produce things that align with your values, but when that company turns around and invests its own money elsewhere, do they invest in other things, companies and causes that align with your values? Where are they giving with their charitable giving? Does it align with what you want, or are they investing in things that contradict your biblical values? You need to understand their track record, what it's going to take to maintain that growth trajectory. If you're going to do it yourself, you got to know, is this a new company? Is it a startup? Is it a small, fast-growing company? Or is it a large company that's already kind of trundling along? Because there's differences in growth expectations, but there's also differences in risk. Are they a stalwart company? Are they a cyclical? You say, what does that mean? Well, a stalwart is a company that just trudges right ahead through rain and shine through May, June, September, October, November. Whereas a cyclical company goes through cycles, right? And you got to study and understand those cycles. How long are those cycles? Are they months? Are they years? There's a great book that was written years and years ago for the do-it-yourself investor who wants to know the condition of his flocks and give attention to his herds, knowing that riches do not last forever. And that book is called One Up on Wall Street. One Up on Wall Street, written a long time ago by really kind of a celebrity investor by the name of Peter Lynch, who once was at the head of the large mutual fund, the Fidelity Magellan Fund. And in his day, he was doing quite well, and so he decided to write a book about it. And it really is about what it takes to know the companies you invest in and succeed as an investor. And he's talking to the do-it-yourselfer. Investing is an intellectual sport. And if you play this game with your emotions, you're going to get killed. That's a quotation directly from a friend of mine, Keith Cunningham, that I had an opportunity to meet and study under. Great businessman, great mind. Here it is again. Investing is an intellectual sport, and if you play it with your emotions, you're going to get killed. That's from Keith Cunningham. Well, what else can you do? Well, you could certainly set aside the do-it-yourself approach and researching individual companies. Instead, forget trying to find the needle in the haystack. Just buy the haystack. A lot of people, including Warren Buffett, suggest this for amateur investors. He says, don't worry about all that. Just buy some index funds or index ETFs. That's called an exchange-traded fund. And they track whole segments of the market, maybe healthcare or finance. Or instead, they may focus on the size of companies, large companies or small companies. The S&P 500 is an index that tracks a bunch of strong, large companies here in the United States. But then you've got other companies that track tech stocks like the NASDAQ and so on. Or you can just buy into an index that's diversified. Did you know that they make indices that have a little bit of everything? It's kind of like a portfolio. And really smart people put together these indices of companies that are supposedly great companies, depending on the index, and you just buy the index and you don't worry about it. You're trusting, to a degree, others to figure out the needles. You're just buying the haystack. You've still got to do some research. You still got to understand, does this index, does this ETF that I'm owning and buying, how does it fit into my overall financial plan? Or here's an alternative. You can do it yourself, number one. You can forget the needle and buy the haystack and get a little bit of help, or you can focus on doing what you enjoy, whatever that is, whether it's golfing or whether it's the business that you run, and employ the services of a professional to build and maintain your portfolio and, really important, the plan that portfolio rests in. It really starts with a comprehensive plan. When you hire an advisor like Lord & Richards and our team, we're going to begin by developing a comprehensive plan to help you achieve financial independence so that it's less about the investments and more about the goals that you're trying to accomplish. Then we find the investments that will support that plan. Here's a great statement to remember. The purpose of money should dictate where you put it. The purpose of money should dictate where you put it, not the other way around. Well, folks, this just starts with a simple conversation with a group of friendly, kind, caring, knowledgeable advisors. And we've got a wonderful team of advisors here at Lord & Richards that are helping people just like you every single day to achieve financial independence.